Hey everybody, welcome to another video review, and in this case a solution of another Hanayama cast metal puzzle. This one is called Chain. It is a level 6 Hanayama puzzle, one of their few level 6s. I think they made like well over 80 die cast puzzles over the years. They've been around for a long time, actually I think since 1983 or some such ridiculous time. That's wow, that's like what, 36 years ago. So these guys have been making amazing puzzles submitted by I guess people, puzzle masters, people who are interested in these type of things for decades. And in all that time, in the 80, 90 plus pieces they've created, I think less than a dozen, maybe a bit more than that, have had the distinction of being granted level 6 out of 6 difficulty by the Hanayama scale. This is definitely a level 6. It's level 6 no matter where you go. Sometimes depending on where you buy these, whether it's from Japan or Europe or the United States, the difficulty may fudge here or there. Some level 6s become level 5s, for instance, in the Japanese store. But this is a level 6 wherever you go. Let's get a little bit close up. You can see sort of the finish of the metal. It's a little bit distressed gray, and really love it. I had made, if you can believe this, I had created a 40-minute video solution earlier, but after watching it, I just felt it wasn't good enough, didn't do justice to the complexity of this puzzle, so I deleted it, and now I'm going to try it again. So hopefully this one is good enough to actually upload. There's, by the way, a lot of solutions of how to address this puzzle, as there are, any puzzle, there are many solutions on the internet, on YouTube. But this is one of the unique ones where I don't know if any of them, I think, truly were able to delve into all of the layers that this puzzle can lead you down. It is an amazing puzzle once you actually understand what to do with it, and there's a lot of ways of getting into trouble. And so not only am I going to show you how to disassemble and assemble it, which you can find with multiple YouTube videos, but I'm also going to try to show you what are all the different dead ends that you may find yourself unwittingly walking down, and then how to get out of them. Okay. And hopefully I do a reasonable job of it. So I don't think, again, there's any video that really shows, like Mr. Puzzle shows you how to do it, but then he just sort of stops at that point, and he just shows you exactly what you need to disassemble, assemble, but he doesn't show you, he mentions briefly that, not to be fooled by the seemingly simple solution, because as you are trying to find the solution, you can become, again, stuck in many, many ways. And, but he doesn't show you where you could get stuck. So let's begin. The puzzle comes like this out of the box. It's 3 links. For the interest of clarity, I'm just going to call each of the 3 of them chain, okay? Even though the puzzle is called chain and they're technically links in a chain, I'm just going to call each separate piece like a chain. And as you can see, they are numbered. Numbered 1, numbered 2, and numbered 3, like a dice, right? So I will call them chain 1, chain 2, chain 3. Simple enough. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And on initial inspection, they seem essentially identical, pretty much the same. But of course, as with all Hanayama puzzles, that's not really quite the case. So first of all, you can see that Hanayama is engraved here. Normally they have the name of the puzzle also engraved, but they decided not to do it on this puzzle for some reason. Usually in the past, we use Hanayama and also the name of the puzzle when it's engraved in the metal. We use that as an orientation device to kind of bring your attention to a particular piece. We call it the Hanayama piece, for instance. But in this case, we don't need to do that because the puzzle has kindly already given us all the identification we need with the numbers. 1, again, 2, and 3. Now let's look a little bit closer. If you look closer at the pieces, you will see that they're not, in fact, identical. because for piece number 3, you can see that there is actually a notch. Okay, one of the, I guess I should call this what, the head? One of the heads. So there's a notch here, and you can see this notch extends all the way across the thickness of the chain here, chain number 3. Okay, there's a notch here. And this notch is not present in either 2, and it's not present in 1 either. Okay, but if you look at 1, you can appreciate that there's another notch here. And this notch is different from the notch here. Now, how are they different? Well, obviously, one of them is a bit wider. And if you'll notice, it only goes halfway down, meaning that it's asymmetrical. It's only present on this side. And if you flip it over, you can see it's completely smooth. That notch is not present. Whereas this, of course, goes all the way through. It is present on both this surface and this surface. So this is very important. This little notch here is very important. I guess to differentiate, I will call this, I guess, the long notch right here. Okay, and this is like the short notch. So those two pieces of information, those two details are actually critical in solving the puzzle. Okay. Also important to note, when you have the puzzle, look at where the designation or the number of the chains are. So in this case, the 3 is here, the 1 is here. If you flip it around, it's the same piece, okay? 3 and 3. The same head is engraved. 1 and 1, okay? And when you have this in the starting position, just to let you know, the 3 and the 1 are on opposite ends, okay? And you cannot make it the same. If you flip it around, still opposite ends, okay? Except this one, of course, now is on the upper. This is lower. If you flip around, this is now lower, that's upper, but they're opposite. They're not on the same side. The 2 in the middle is in the is in the middle. You can rotate this any way you want, so its orientation is not particularly important. But the 1 and the 3 chain, it is important. So if you disassemble and then you assemble it, and somehow you make a mistake, you're going to wind up with the 1 here on the same side as the 3 in terms of the dots. I would call this the die faces. And if you do that, if the 1 and the 3 are the same side, you have actually reassembled this puzzle incorrectly. And that's critical because the moves that will be required to disassemble are different depending on where the 1 and the 3 are, whether they're opposite, which is the original state of the puzzle, or whether they're the same side, which is actually a mistake in reassembly. So with that background, I think we're ready to begin. So I think the best way to show you how this is done is, in fact, to just to do it and then explain what we're doing. So let us begin by simply disassembling. So what we're going to do is you're going to orient this puzzle like this. Right hand grasping chain 3. I'm sorry, left hand grasping chain 3, right hand grasping chain 1. Make sure that the 3 is up, the 1 is down in terms of the face, these little numbering systems, and then Hanayama, of course, is facing us as well. The 2 I like to have just sort of hanging like this, okay? It's symmetrical, completely symmetrical. It does not have any short or long notch we have to worry about. It's sort of the link. So here we go. We start here, and what we want to do is we want to change the configuration of the order. So instead of having 1, 2, 3, we would like the 3rd chain to be, in fact, in the middle, and the 2 over here. We want it to change position. And how are we going to do that? Well, there's a very specific sequence of moves that's going to allow us to do that, and you have to be very comfortable, actually, at making that move. So again, here's where you want to hold it, and here's how the move is going to be made. We are going to rotate chain number 1 so that it covers chain number 3 perfectly, just like this, okay? So we're going to put it over the 3. The 1 goes over the 3, and you line it up like that. Of course, the 2 is just kind of hanging out, okay? Once you have it in this configuration, you now have a choice. You can rotate the 1 either counterclockwise, in which case you will create this particular configuration, or you can rotate it clockwise, in which case you will create this particular configuration. And what is this configuration? This configuration is where you put the 2 together and you line up the square head with the square hole, the square head with this square hole, and you create sort of like a 4 square quadrant. So I'm going to do this again very slowly. We start off again, original puzzle. Chain 3, chain 1, chain 2 in the middle, hanging like this. We rotate it over so that it's covering each other just like this, on top of each other. And then, this is very critical, even though you can rotate counterclockwise or clockwise, we are going to rotate clockwise. And if we rotate clockwise, we will reveal the 3, and then we can actually push a little bit, and we can get this particular configuration. If you do this, again, showing you again, over each other, rotate the 1 clockwise, and now the 3 shows up. If you do this, the only move next to make is to push the 3 chain from back to front, like so. Okay? Now, I'm gonna have to jiggle this a little bit. This piece here, this number 2 chain, depending on its particular orientation, can make the passing so-called easier or harder. Okay, you may have to jiggle this a little bit, like move it here a little bit, move it there a little bit. I usually find that just having it hang off the middle corner gives you the most room. And you can see there's even a little notch to do it. You can imagine if you don't go forward, you just kind of go back. If you go back, of course, you've just opened the puzzle and you're back to the original starting position, right? So if we, again, really slowly take this and I move it over like this, and then I rotate clockwise and do it this way, and you know, this thing can only move forward, okay? And if you move it forward and you let it hang here, you will see now that the 3 chain, which we just pushed from back to front, is now hanging off the 1 chain, and it's also crisscrossing the 2 chain, which we, by the way, haven't touched. So now you have this scenario. The 2 are essentially making an X, and both of them are now hanging off the 1 chain. This piece that you pushed through and that you're now hanging, this is going to be the new middle chain. Okay, so understand that the piece you choose to manipulate from that beginning position that you're going to push from back to front, that is going to be the new middle piece. Now, this is sort of an awkward transitional state. It's not very nicely linked to 1, 2, 3. So you are going to leave the 3 alone. You just touched it. You just moved it through the gap, right? From back to front. Leave it alone. And then you're going to grab the other chain, which is the 2. This is so far has been untouched. You take this 2. You let the 3 hang. This is what you have pushed from back to front 4, right? Back to front. Back to front through, and you're letting it hang there. So leave this alone. Grab the 1 chain, grab the 2, and then watch very carefully. We are going to begin to rotate it clockwise, like so. And then we're going to make our 4 quadrant square by moving that 2 from, again, back to front. Okay, bottom up. You make it, and then you continue. You made this quadrant now, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. How do we get to this quadrant? We took the 2, and we rotated it from here. I'm going to show you again. I grab this. We rotated it. We turned and rotated it clockwise, and got it to this configuration from back to front. Okay, and then you continue the motion all the way through, and you will now create a new configuration. Now it looks a lot nicer. 3 chains forming the link. Now the 2 is where the 3 used to be. The 3 is now in the center, and of course the 1 is unchanged. You have essentially juxtaposed the 2 chain and the 3 chain with that particular move that I spent so much time showing you. And now we have a situation where the 3 is next to the 1. This is important for us because now we have the opportunity to play with the notches I have pointed out at the beginning of this video. The small notch and the big notch, okay? And if you begin to play with the orientation, etc., you will find that you can bring those 2 notches together. So I'm going to actually now hold the 3 chain in this particular orientation. I'll call this the power position, okay? So again, the 3, you can see, this is the die face, 1, 2, 3, short notch at the bottom. In this position, you can take the 1, line up this notch, and if you line it up just like this, okay, obviously the side where the notch must be facing the short notch, and the open part of the notch must be facing toward our right. You can slide it right in. It's like a perfect fit. And this goes right in, and if you do that, you can see that you have now actually put the thickness of chain number 1 and gotten rid of that thickness. You have now put it into the depression of that small notch, and when you do that, you've now created a nice circle, which is the perfect size for this head to get rid of this thing. I'd like to point out that you must have the orientation perfectly. The open portion of this notch has to be facing the right way, has to be facing right, not left, and this notch has to be facing the short notch, and it cannot be on the opposite side. If it's on the opposite side, there's no way you can rotate it to get to this configuration, anything possible. So this is very, very specific, okay, boom. Now, once you have this here, it becomes child's play, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna play around. So usually what I do is I, kind of line up the heads together. You're like this, and it's child's play to slip it off. Okay, I'm gonna go real slow here, okay? So you see the gap? You're using the gap here to remove it. So if it's, of course, just kind of hanging out, you just rotate and make sure that the thing is lined up, and you just sort of just move it. Excuse me. Let me just move it from bottom up. You're out, okay? Now, the reason you're able to do this, of course, is you're able to utilize the 2 notches on 1 and 3 to fit perfectly like a Lego piece, boom. And now, of course, you remove the thickness. It's no longer in the way. That allows you to turn this thing out. Now that this piece, of course, is out of the way, it's, again, child's play to simply redo the same thing, line it up, and then lift that out. And we now have, of course, all 3 parts separated. Seems pretty simple, but remember, it's only simple because we have in front of us the solution. If you don't know the solution and you're trying to figure out the sequence of moves to get this out, it can be incredibly difficult. And perhaps I might have to break this up. Maybe in another video, I will show you all of the different missteps that can occur, how to get out of them. Okay, so half the puzzle is done. You have now disassembled. What must you do to reassemble? This is tricky. It cannot be done just by reversing the steps that you have undertaken, not like some of the other Hanayama puzzles, because you're doing very specific, odd, twisty motions to exchange the chains in this link. And you cannot easily reverse engineer that. So let me again show you how to go about doing this. So number 1, we have chain number 3, put this in the power position. And now we have chain number 1, and we are going to link 3 and 1 in a very specific fashion. Hold the 3 here, hold the 1 here. We're gonna put the 1 below the 3, and then create our 4-quadrant square. And the 1 is going to enter 3 from down up, from below up, like so. And if you do that and check your work, you should see that the long notch is facing the short notch, thereby allowing you to reconfigure this. Okay? Now, there are some pitfalls with this move, but luckily, if you make a mistake at this early stage, you will not be allowed to go on, and then you can easily correct it. If you don't do this, and let's just say you flip the orientation, and you do it this way, you're going to find the disaster, because here you'll see that where is the notch? Oh my goodness, you have flipped the puzzle 180 and the notch is on the wrong side. You can't fit it into this little notch. The long notch now no longer opposes the short notch. I hope you can easily appreciate that. Now you might think, well, what if I just turn it like this? If I turn it like this, surely I'm going to maintain the 3 chain in the power position. You must be thinking, surely if I just turn it this way, look, I found the notch, right? It's now facing the short notch. Okay, but try to put it in. You see, if you try to put it in, it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. Why? Because this is asymmetrical. This piece is asymmetrical. It does not fit unless it goes in the right angle. And of course, if you have this thing stuck here, it becomes impossible to put this thing through the hole. Why? Because this guy is in the way. The only reason you were able to disassemble the puzzle in the first place was because you managed to take the thickness of this, so chain number 1, and then slot it into this slot, thereby creating the hole to get rid of the chain number 2. So luckily in this scenario, mistake prevents you from just moving forward at all. And so it's pretty easy then to rectify. You realize, oh, I put it in the wrong way. I simply need to just turn it over, and then I put in, and now all of a sudden, here we are again, notch to notch, we're in business, okay? So the way to just easily memorize it is, again, to hold the 3, hold the 1, and then you just go from below, up, and around, and you'll always be in the right orientation here. So please put the notches together. You have to do that in order to proceed with the assembly portion of this puzzle. And as you can see, if you do that, you now have the whole square to play with. You take the 2 chain and you just put it in. In this case, by the way, it doesn't matter what you do. You can go like that. You can go bottom up. You can even switch it around and have the unnamed, unnamed head without the engraved die face go down. I mean, whatever you want. To keep it consistent, since this is how I placed 1 onto 3 in the right orientation, I just take the 2 and I link it the same way. Go below and go through and then link. Okay? So once we do that, we can let it hang. And now let us look at the configuration. We have 1, 3, 2. Obviously, that's not what we want. This is not the original configuration of chain. We want it to be 1, 2, 3. Okay. So how do we go about going from 1, 3, 2 to 1, 2, 3? Okay. So remember the move that I made in the beginning. We now have to make a similar move in order to switch the order of the chains. So remember that the chain you touch to do these maneuvers, that chain becomes the middle once you've completed the maneuver. So we want the 2 to get into the middle position, right? So let's hold our 1 in this way. It does not matter, by the way, whether the 1 is here or if you flip it around and the 1 is here. That actually is inconsequential. And the middle 3, of course, is hanged. That doesn't matter whether it's here or there. So hold the 1 like this, let everything hang. You're going to take the 2 chain. In taking the 2 chain, this now becomes your target. This will become the middle chain. You're going to loop it up. This is critical now. The other stuff isn't critical. Whether you hold it like this or you hold it like this, doesn't matter. But this part matters. You're going to take the 2 and you are going to go through one of the, go through the 3, whatever. You have to loop it up, you have to bring it up. So you have to take the 2, and this is critical. You have to go from behind. Okay, go from behind and then rotate it so that it goes from back to front through chain number 1, okay? Because when you have it in this position, this is the position that we created after we linked all 3 together, you have choice for how to manipulate the 2. You can take the 2 chain and just as easily go up front and then create this situation whereby we rotate, okay? And then we pass through. Which is, by the way, what we did in the beginning of the puzzle. If you want to rewind the video, you can watch. We did essentially, right? We did essentially this. Remember? We did like this. And then I said, I taught you, and then I said, well, like, what we're going to do, is we're going to move this over like that. And then we're going to twist clockwise and move this forward, blah, blah, blah. But in here, we have problem, okay? And I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is when you have this configuration, this 4-quadrant configuration, whatever you decide to move becomes the middle piece. And so if we brought this like that, and then we twist it clockwise, what we're moving now is not the 2, we're actually moving through the 1, and this 1 will become the middle piece, and we do not want a 2, 1, 3, we want a 1, 2, 3, right? So you are going from the bottom. If you go to the front, and then you turn counterclockwise now, because you want to move this piece through, you see you're now not moving from back to front, you're moving from front to back, okay? And that's going to screw up your orientation, which I will show you later. So again, please remember, we created this sequence from linking everything together. You're holding the 1. You got to take this 2 chain and you have to flip it back, so you can go from back to front. That's the 2. If you move this from back to front, this now is going to become the middle piece, okay? Shift it. Let it hang here. Now you can see we're back to the interlocking chains, and then you continue to hold the 1. You let the 2 alone. This is going to become the new middle chain. This is the piece that you moved through. It's going to be the new middle chain. You grab the bottom, which is number 3, and then watch carefully. I'm going to do that again. You're going to rotate clockwise, and you're going to turn it, and then you're just going to go again from back to front, making the 4-quadrant square, and then you go through, and look what we have. We have a 1, we have 2, we have 3, and most importantly, 1 and 3 are opposite ends. You flip it around. You can flip the 2, of course, in a circle. 1 and 3 opposite ends, and this is indeed the original configuration of chain. So at the 28-minute mark, about 30-minute mark, I have shown you hopefully the move to both disassemble and now accurately assemble. But now we can take it a step further. We can go interesting, okay, make it more interesting. So I only showed you this move. I'm going to show it to you again so you understand. We're going to take this, go over, rotate clockwise. The chain that you're going to move through, okay, to create a situation where there's 2 chains hang off the 1. The chain you move, that's the 1 that's going to become the middle one. So in moving the 3 over, it's the middle one. You take the 2, and then again, watch carefully. I'm rotating it, turning it clockwise, and then you go back to front, right over. And now, as you can see, we are having the 3 in the middle. This is the same configuration that we used to get rid of it, to disentangle, right? Remember the notch? Notch, notch, right? And then you can get this thing off. And then we can also reconstitute it. And then, of course, to get it back to the original configuration, we take the 2 And instead of going through the front, we go back, line up to make the 4 square quadrant. And again, see, this piece is moving from back to front. And since we're moving this piece, this is going to be the piece that's going to be in the middle, the new middle, so to speak, when we're done. See how I can't move it? You have to fiddle, futz. Now it's through, you twist, let it hang here, let this hang here. This is the new middle. We grab the other piece, which is a 3, and then we rotate again clockwise, and we go from back to front. And now, again, we are in the original configuration. So this is pretty simple, okay? But in your machinations, you might be doing all sorts of things. Maybe you haven't done YouTube video to try to solve it, and you have a weird configuration. How do you get into weird configuration? I'll show you one particular scenario. So you take this, and now instead of moving, remember we're going to cover, right? So I'm going to go to the original video, and you can rewind the video to see we had the 3 up here and the 1 down here. You could do the same thing with the 3 down here, 1 up here, doesn't matter. But you know, to maintain comparison from the original video when I showed you how to solve, 3 here, 1 here. Now instead of going clockwise, suppose you chose to go counterclockwise like this. Okay, now you've done this. Unfortunately, if you turn counterclockwise, all of a sudden the piece that is actually going to be moving is not the 3 anymore, it's the 1. And that means that the 1 is going to become the new middle chain. And another thing that's interesting is if you rotate counterclockwise, you have to push it from front to back. You see, you have to make this move. Whereas if you rotated it counterclockwise, now you are manipulating the 3, which will become the middle chain, and you will move the 3 from back to front. So let's see where this leads. Start, original position. We fold like this. Instead of doing this, which we know will give us the solution, we go opposite. We rotate this. Now the 1 is going to be the one that goes through, and you're going now opposite. Instead of back to front, you're moving this 1 chain front to back. And by the way, this requires a little bit of futzing, but fine, we now rest it. We're going to leave the 1 alone. This will be the middle. Look very carefully. We're going to hold the 3 now. We're going to hold the 2. Now this 2, you have to rotate a different way. If you try to rotate the same way, you'll get stuck. It won't work. Remember, you've gone front to back, not back to front. You take the 2, and now while you're rotating clockwise, it's still clockwise, you're going now on top. This rotation is still clockwise, but you're going now, instead of at the bottom and then going back to front, you're going to go from the top and go front to back. Okay, see that? You rotated it, and now you're going, what? Front to back, not back to front, but front to back to make the chain. And look at the scenario you have created. 1 in the middle, and then the 3 on the side. And you're probably thinking, well, we can still make it, can't we? Power position 3, but look at the disaster. Your notch on the 1 is in fact over here, opposite from where the notch here is on 3. So you cannot do anything with that, okay? That does not fit. Even worse, your 2 is actually stuck on the 1, and so the 2 cannot come through. So this is dead end. You cannot do anything with this, okay? In order for you to escape, you must have the 3 be the middle chain. You cannot escape, you cannot disassemble if the 1 is the middle chain. You cannot disassemble if the 2 is the middle chain. So now we have to get this back into configuration. We have to get it back into 1, 2, 3 again. How do we do that? Very simple. We hold the 3. We're going to use the 2 again, okay? And then remember, the 1 that goes through the piece, the one that's going through is going to be the middle piece. So hopefully this is familiar to you from the beginning of the puzzle. You take this, we now go back. This is the 2, it goes through. Now this is going to be the middle piece. Let it hang here. We take this, and look what we're doing. We're rotating clockwise, but now look, it's going below this piece, back to front, all the way through to create the new configuration. But I hope you noticed, in doing that, we have created a mistake. What is a mistake? 1 and 3 are now where, guys? It's on the same side. That's a no-no, okay? If you wind up with this configuration, you have assembled the chain incorrectly. And you now have many options. You now realize that there are options to create those linking maneuvers to change the position of the chain. And the way you choose how you do it is going to not only change the position of the chain in the link, whether it's on the end or in the middle, but it also changes the orientation. Is the 1 and the 3 on the same side or opposite sides? Is the notch on the same side or the opposite side? That's critical. And if you do, for instance, this move, now let's see what happens. If we go from here to here, and then you try to do the same move as I showed you solution-wise. We go here, right? We go clockwise. We move this through. This is the 3. So this is going to now be the middle. So far, so good. This 3 comes forward. This will be the middle piece, which is what we want. You go through, let this drop, hold on to this, grab the other piece, rotate clockwise, and we go back to front, all the way through. You're going to think to yourself, my God, we've done it. Here we go. 3 in the middle, 1 and 2 hang off the 3. Eureka. Let's go power position right here. And then what do we see when we go to the power position? We see disaster. Where is your notch on the 1? It's on the opposite side. Do you see that? Opposite side from the short notch. You're stuck. You can't go. You may see some YouTube videos where they get to this position and they try to kind of squeeze the notch here and they kind of force it through. That's no good, okay? This is wrong. So as you can see, going from that 1-3 position where the 1 and the 3 are the same side, you go through the same solution that I showed you from the very beginning. It takes you into a dead end. Okay, so how do we get back into normal position? Okay, so here we go. Grab the 1, you take the 2, and you know that if you take the 2 and you move it through here, or you want to go back and you move it through here, you know that this 2 is going to become the middle. So you know if you manipulate this, you're going to put the 2 back into the middle. You're going to have 1, 2, 3. But guys, here's the trick. It matters again whether you want the 1 and the 3 on opposite side or on the same side. And you know now for a fact, if it's on the same side, you're going to run into some problems. And so you know if you go from the backward this way, you're going to return to the 1 and 3 on the same side. Okay? So in order for you to prevent that from happening, you need to do the opposite. Remember, the last time I showed you, I said go from back to front with the two chain. But here, because we wound up in a dead end and we want to go back to the original configuration of the puzzle, instead of doing back to front, you're going to go and you're going to bring this thing up, and then you're going to go front to back. Let's jiggle front to back. Come on. You know, we're trying to go front to back. Help me out here, guys. Again, the give on this chain is a little bit tight. And so sometimes it doesn't cooperate. Okay, it's through. Okay, so now it's through. Grab this, grab that, and then we're going to rotate clockwise, except we're going to rotate now from front to back, right? And here we go, you pull through this way. And now look, it's like magic, guys. Now we have the 3 and the 1 on opposite sides. Do you appreciate that? And now, of course, you know what to do when it's a 3 on 1 opposite sides. Now you can do what I showed you in the very beginning. You fold, you twist clockwise, move the 3 from back to front. This will be the new middle. You know that to be true. Let it rest. Grab this, grab that. Now when you rotate clockwise, you're going to go from back to front like this. And now we are in the master position. power position, 3 in the power position, and look at our 1 orientation. The notch is now the right place, not on the opposite end, but in the right place. We lock, and we are done again. So hopefully you can begin to appreciate the complexity of the puzzle, because orientation matters. And if you make a mistake in the orientation, it will lead you down all sorts of problematic problems. See, you see how I put it backwards here? So that's no good. We have to take it back. So see, it can be a little bit confusing because I mistook this indentation for the 1. No, this is the 1. So the right way is to go this way. And now you can clearly see the indentation. We lock. And here's the 2. Go up. Now we are in this position. In this position, if you want to recreate the original with the 1 and the 3 on opposite ends, you take the 2 and again you go backwards, and then you go this way. Okay. So let's get interesting. Let's do it wrong on purpose. Instead of taking the 2 and going backwards and going from back to front, which we know is going to be a success, let's muck around a little bit. Let's go now from the front. So let's, instead of going back, let's go front. Right? Take a front, and now you're going to push from front to back. Again, opposite. Come on. This is always a little bit tricky. When you go from front to back, it's a little bit tighter. Okay, so rotate, and now just hang, grab this, and then remember when we rotate now clockwise, we're going from the top down, front to back. Let's jiggle. Jiggle, come on, help me jiggle. Okay, we're jiggling pluri, and then front to back. And look, guys, what have we done? Wrong, okay? Wrong. 3 and 1 opposite side. You have assembled it incorrectly. The 1 should be up here. I hope this looks familiar. We've been in this position before. And so you know that if you take this position and you do my original solution, line up, clockwise, move back to front, blah, blah, you know you're going to go into dead end, okay? You're going to go to dead end. So there's a way, of course, of starting from this position, even though this is the incorrect starting position, and still disassembling the puzzle by going the opposite. So easy. Let's go. You take this situation, okay? It doesn't really matter. It could be both on the same side, or it could be like this. It doesn't really matter. I will choose this, for instance. If you do it again, it's going to be the same. So actually, let me think about this. Okay, so remember, we want to create a situation here from this improper beginning. Remember, we need to move the 3 into the center. If you want to move the 3 into the center, this has to be the piece that does the movement. So actually, I think you do have to apply from this configuration. We line up, and then we're going to move now counterclockwise. But if I go counterclockwise, we'll see, and I move this through, this is going to be the middle. We don't want that. So the only solution is to turn around, and instead of moving the 1 onto the 3, we move the 3 onto the 1. If we move the 3 onto the 1, and then we turn counterclockwise, yes, now I'm going to be moving the 3 through. This will now be the middle, which is what we want. We take now the 2, and we rotate clockwise while going from front to back, the opposite. Again, you may need to jiggle a little bit. Okay, jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Front to back, all the way through. And if I read this correctly, we should be in the proper orientation, power position 3, and you can see that the notch lines up. We line up, and now the 2 can come out. You see that? So remember that if you create a situation where the 1 and the 3 are in the same side, you can still achieve the proper orientation by pushing the 3 through. You have to manipulate. You have to know where things are going. So let's go back to the original position again. Hold the 1. If I manipulate the 2 will become the new middle piece. I now know I cannot go forward. If I go forward, it will create the wrong orientation. Even though I can get 1, 2, 3, the dots on the 1 and the 3 will be on the same side. We don't want to be on the same side. If you do this, it will be on the same side. So you have to go backwards. If you go backwards and you move from back to front, let it rest, hold on to this, take the other one, rotate, and now if you rotate clockwise, you're going to go now from back. We got a little bit too cute, it got stuck here. Yeah, here you go. You're going to go from back, you're going to go from back to front, and now you see you are going to have the 1 and the 3 on opposite sides. Hope you understood all of these things. So again, you have multiple ways of changing where the chain is in the link, and it's that move I showed you. And then you can decide whether you want to go from front to back or back to front, and that will change the orientation. Furthermore, if you do this, you move, and then you say do counterclockwise, and the 3 goes forward, the 3 will become the middle chain, okay, middle piece. But you can see that if you rotate the other way, now the 3 stays centered, and the 1 is the one that's going through the hole. Now the 1 becomes the middle. And if you change orientation from here to here, and then you take the 3 and you go up, if you rotate, now the 3 goes through the center, it will be the middle, but the middle with the wrong orientation. And if you turn this over, now of course the 1 goes from back to front, the 1 becomes the middle, which cannot give you success. Understand, if you have the chain with the 2 in the middle position, disassembly is impossible. If you have a situation where the 1 is in the middle, disassembly is impossible. If you have a situation where the 3 is the middle, that's what we want, and the 1 and the 2 on either side, that's what we want, but the orientation is incorrect, and the notch here and the notch here are not lined up so they can fit. Disassembly is impossible. So I hope you now understand why this puzzle is a level 6 and why it requires so much fiddling. I have made these moves, no joke, 50, 60, 70 times, looking at all the different ways you can configure. And depending on how you do it, they sometimes lead down the same path. For instance, if you start here and you do this and you rotate, may be the same as if you go like this and you go backwards and you rotate, Or if you switch and then you go backwards and you rotate through, may be the same as switching this way and going through the front, for instance, and rotating. So, I figured out all the different, basically, permutations and combinations of how to create this magical 4-quadrant scenario and then moving back and forth and back and forth. But understand that it's a very specific movement. So, I have now, of course, memorized. I know exactly what I'm doing. I can control each chain of this link and also control orientation. And at will, I can, move things around. So it's very fun to do once you understand how to do it. But it does take time and exploration. For instance, let me show you. We start here, 1 and 3, instead of 3 and 1, for instance. We now turn it around. Simple. We will go like this. I'm going to counterclockwise. You see, this is disaster. If I move the 1 forward, the 1 will be the middle. We can't have that. So we need to reset, okay? And instead of doing that, I'm going to go from back to front. Now the 3 goes out this way. We're going to rotate it this way. Come on. You have to jiggle it sometimes, get into the 4, go through, and now we have a situation where 3 is in the middle, 1 is on the side. Let's go to power position. You see the notch lines up. Perfect. You see that? And if we now have this scenario where we take the 2, I will do it like this on mistake. So now instead of moving from back to front, I'm moving front to back. I'm moving the 2 through the 1. If I move the 2 through the 1, this will become the new middle chain. Okay, we jiggle, it goes through. We take the 2-piece, and again, remember, different orientation. And I cannot go back to front, I have to go front to back. Look at my finger, cannot go this way, must go this way while rotating clockwise. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Front to back. And look, we're gonna have 1 and 3 on the same side as I can predict it. We control. We have this, wrong. How do we go backwards? Easy. We now take this, we take the 1. Okay, we take the 1. We now rotate it this way. That's no good, right? Let's see. We take this. We're going to want to go to the disassembly position. So, the easier way to do it is to go from here. We take the 3, we move over. Okay, we're going to go counterclockwise so the 3 goes deep. We let it hang. We now take the 2, rotate clockwise, going from front to back. Come, okay, go through. Now we have the 3 in the middle, power position, like so. And you see that the notches line up. We go through, home free. Okay, so again, it takes some practice, but if once you become comfortable, you can do anything. You have a complete control of this thing. So we now have the 1, we have the 2. We're going to go from back. The 2 goes from back to front. We now know, since we're manipulating the 2 and moving it forward, we know that this will be the middle chain. Link it. And now, since we're going from back to front, we grab this as we're rotating clockwise. We're going from back to front here as well. We separate, and look, 3, 1 opposite side, original puzzle. So I think I've shown you a lot of manipulation of this chain in the last hour. Hopefully you now know how you can change it at will. I can make the 1 the middle, I can make 3 the middle, 2 the middle, I can change orientation. You can play with it. I can go into the disassembly state. What do I mean by disassembly state? Simple. Let's see here. We don't really want that. We can do this. Let's see how this goes through. See how, you just think about it a little bit. Pretty simple to do. Come on, we're rotating, going from back to front. So the disassembly position is a 3 in the power position, and then the 1 with the long notch here, and then you go like this. This is the disassembly position right here, okay? 1 locked in, 2, 3, notches line up, and then the 2 is going to come out. I can get into this position from essentially, almost essentially from any position. If you it's almost like a Rubik's Cube. You give me the chain in any type of disarray. And just by looking at it, I can immediately tell the moves necessary to end up in this position. Okay, and of course, the minute you end up in this position, which is a 2, a 3, and a 1, with the notches lined up so that they fit together, you've solved the puzzle. Okay, so that is sort of what you want to do. And also from any position, by the way, from any position, I can also manipulate it to create the original starting position, which is this way. 1, 2, 3, with the 3 and the 1 on opposite sides, or the 3 and the 1 on opposite sides, the 3 and the 1 on opposite sides. This is the way that the puzzle originally came out of the box. So hopefully, now that you know the moves and the implication of the moves, you're going to have the same control. And that is how you have completely mastered the chain puzzle. Because one of the challenges of the box is that the so-called solution is different depending on what is the middle chain. And you, of course, now have the power to manipulate the middle chain no matter what. If it's a 3, of course, you've solved the puzzle already if it's in the right orientation. If it's not, then you have to switch it around. You will be able to do it in 2 moves. If it's the 1, it's impossible. You have to move the 3. If it's the 2, which is where you start, you have to move the 3. And you, again, can do whatever you want to make that happen. Okay? So once you're good at it, it again becomes a child's play, to go ahead and, go ahead and put it in. You have to rotate a little bit. It goes through. You do that. It goes through. Here's the 3. Let's go power position. And you can see immediately that the 1, the notch here. Okay, power position. And then you take the 1, you take the 2. And so for someone who doesn't know how to do it, it's going to look like you're doing magic. Here we go again, 3, 1, you're in the original position. It's going to look like you're doing magic because you're so comfortable moving things around. But that comes with practice. Okay, so again, that's why this is definitely one of my favorite puzzles, because of the engineering, the thinking behind it, the moves, and the depth of the puzzle. Very, very good. So very, very long, review and solution, but this puzzle demands it. It really demands a lot of that time to show you all the different configurations and how it can go wrong. Level 6 Hanayama chain, one of the best puzzles really of the entire line. Well worth buying if you have a chance. So thanks for sticking it out with me for this super long, boring video. I hope that seeing this inspires you to buy this puzzle. It's an amazing puzzle and very enjoyable to play with, and much better than just a simple fidget spinner, for instance. And until next time, do take care.